They get caught up in a distraction loop. They get caught up in job. They get caught up in school to distract them from actually going to achieve something that's admirable, focused on everything else besides what is in their life that's they have to fix. Listen is for your problem besides you, when the only thing that is to blame is you. All right, so currently snowed in my car. I've got my other phone at the crib, so I don't have my notes, but you know, we're gonna work with it. We're gonna see. And I'm literally about to come up on the spot about what I want to talk about right now and figure out what I think will be impactful. And the things I've been going through, and you know, what I think will help a young man right now, especially going through a lot of shit. And I kind of want to talk about how the world is just full of distractions and you're just a pawn, and you're in this simulation of shit that's just going on, and it's just used to distract you until you die, so you don't ever achieve anything, you know. And that's what happens to most people. They get caught up in a distraction loop. They get caught up in job. They get caught up in school. They get caught up in watching politics. They get caught up in celebrity gossip. They get caught up in a TV show. They get caught up in Netflix shows. They get caught up in whatever it is to distract them from actually going to achieve something that's admirable. And you see this with so many people. They're so distracted by just everyday life. They don't even pay attention to what they have to do because they're so focused on everything else besides what is in their life that's they have to fix. And what happens when you get caught in the distraction loop, what happens when you get caught in watching politics, what happens when you get caught in watching what happens in the world, is you start to blame everybody else for your problems besides you. You start to blame who the president is for your problem besides you. You start to blame these people on this side or these people on this side for all of your problems besides you. When the only thing that is to blame is you, because there are people in this world who have succeeded and you haven't, with the same circumstance that you had. So you really have to ask yourself, what is stopping me from being successful? What is stopping me from making it to the next level? Because it's not nothing that's out of your control. And if it is out of control, you shouldn't talk about it because you can't control it. I never ever worry about what I can't control. I only worry about what is in my possession to handle. I only worry about what I can do. I'm not worried about what happens over here or what happens over here or what happens over there. Because none of that really matters. None of that really matters. 9 times out of 10, you're not lazy, you're just distracted. You're focused on something else taking you away from your purpose. It's not the fact that you can't go to the gym. You're more excited to do something that's bad for you. You're more excited to smoke weed than go to the gym. That's why you won't go to the gym. So what does that mean? You have to cut out the weed. You have to cut out the thing that's making you not go to the gym. You're more excited to drink than start that business. So what does that mean? You need to cut out the drinking. You need to cut out the bad habits. The negative things in your life that are taking you away from what you have to do. You have to cut them out. Because if you don't, you're going to be distracted for the rest of your life. You're going to be distracted every single day. You know? I used to think that every single thing was everybody else's problem. I used to think that, man, I have a drinking problem. I used to think that, man, it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm watching porn and drinking every night. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that everybody else in my life is holding me back besides me. I used to think I wasn't consistent because of everybody else around me. I used to think that, oh, I can't do something, and I never checked myself. It wasn't until I checked myself that things started to change. It wasn't until I checked who I was that things started to change. And until you check yourself, until you look at your own life, then you'll never ever make the change you need to make. Every single week, every single month, I'm analyzing what the fuck happened here. What happened here? Why didn't I achieve this? Why didn't I do this? What in my life can I subtract to make it easier to reach the goals I'm trying to hit in my life? I do that every single day. Every day. I'm like, what can I do to fix whatever's in my life that's taking me away from my purpose? If you're not having those conversations with you every single day, then do you really care about your existence on this earth? Do you really care about your servitude to God if you're not analyzing every single part of your life? Or are you just one of those people who like to talk a big game, who like to talk good things, who like to say you want to do it but you never do it? Are you one of those people? The worst thing you could be is a sayer and not a doer. Because once you say so much shit, once you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and you say it to so many people, your word starts to become devalued. And as a man, when your word becomes devalued, you're going to devalue yourself. You're going to devalue how you feel about you. Because nobody takes your word serious. So why would you take your word serious? Because you don't take your word serious. Because you said you were going to do all these things, but you never did it. And now you got to look at yourself in the mirror and look at yourself as a failure. And then you're going to blame all these other things around you, because that's what a failure does. You're only a failure if you quit and you blame everybody else. You're not a failure if you truly make a mistake and then you just get back up and keep going and say, I made a mistake, I'm not going to do that again. You're only a failure if you quit and you blame everybody else. When you make a mistake, blame you. Say, this is my fault. How did I get here? Everything is my fault. Everything is my bad. Everything that happens in my life from this point on is my fault. I don't even care if I had 1% chance to fix it. If it didn't get fixed, it's my fault. The more you take accountability for your actions, the better your life will be. The more you say, I'm going to fix this. I'm not going to do wrong. That was my bad. The more you look in the mirror and say, okay, what is going on with me? The better your life will be. People like to say that successful people have a big ego. It's really poor people and broke people and unsuccessful people who have the biggest egos in the world, because they tell themselves every day that nothing is their fault. They tell themselves every day that this isn't my fault, this isn't my fault, this isn't my fault. I have legit people I love, people, friends, family members who blame everybody else for their problems, dog. People who lack accountability irk my soul, bro. I do not like people who don't take accountability for anything. Have you ever met somebody who just complains about every little thing and it never is their fault? They never notice a pattern about anything in their life. These people are the worst, bro. They're the worst because you can't trust them. You can't trust them. They won't even take accountability for their own mistakes. So why would they ever stick up for you? Why would, if they did you wrong, why would they ever take accountability for that? You know? Analyze what you're doing wrong, please. Figure it out. If you have a bad habit, if you have a weed habit, if you have a porn habit, if you have an alcohol habit, look at it, look in the mirror and say, what the fuck, how the fuck do I fix this shit? Why do I look in the mirror and I have such a disgust with myself? The disgust you have with yourself is when you're doing things that you know you should not be doing. It doesn't matter if it's in public. It doesn't matter if it's behind closed doors. If you're doing something you know you should not be doing, if you're doing something that you know God would hate, you're going to have a disgust with yourself. You're going to hate yourself. That's why people who have extreme addictions to extremely terrible things, their face is grayer, their skin is less clearer. People think that's just something where it's genetic. No, bro. You're losing your spirit. You're losing your spirit. When you lose your spirit, you lose yourself. You lose who you are. You become more anxious. You become more nervous. Because you lost yourself. All right. So I'm going to just stop there. I kind of was rambling, and that was totally off the head. I kind of wanted to get something, a car talk in before I, go back inside, because we're in this middle of the snowstorm. I'm about to take this drive. But yeah, start taking accountability, bro. Start taking accountability, bro. All right. I'm going to leave you out with that.